All right, so for this section, section 2.4, part B, we're going to be doing long division. Again, I'm going to show you guys a really quick problem just to kind of show you what you're supposed to know right now, okay? So if I were to say like what's, let's say 274 divided by 5, okay? No, you take way too long. So I kind of already saw what you do when you were out there today when I walked out. All right, so back to this. 5 into 274, okay? So the way you did this in 3rd, 4th grade, this is the way you did it. You said, okay, does 5 go into 2? And you'd be like, well, no, it doesn't go into 2. Okay, then does 5 go into 27? Yes, it does. How many times? We would say 5 times. So this is the way it would look. You would write 5 right here, and then what did you do after that? Well, you say 5 times 5 is 25, right? So what you would do is you would multiply, and that gave you your result that goes right there. What did you do after that? You subtracted, right? We would subtract. I always put a minus with the circle just to kind of remind us that we're subtracting. Well, 27 minus 25, that's 2, right? And then what did we do? We brought something down, right? We got this 4, we brought it down. That gave me a 24. And then I would say, okay, does 5 go into 24? Right? And the answer is yes. How many times? 4 times. Then I would have to multiply again. 4 times 5. That's 20. I subtract. My result is a 4. What is that 4 called? My remainder, right? So your answer, if you wanted to, well, way back in the day, 3rd grade, you would write 54 remainder 4. Okay? Do you guys remember doing that? 54 remainder 4. And then in algebra, they said, well, we don't do it like that anymore. Now we write 54. Since 4 is positive, we'd write plus 4/5. You would get your remainder and put it over what you were dividing by, the 5. Okay? You would get your remainder and put it over what you were dividing by, and that would give you your solution. So 54 plus 4/5, which is actually 54 4/5. But that's the way we used to do it, okay? This is the same thing we're about to do right now. It's going to look way different, but I'm going to use the same techniques. How many times does a certain piece go into another piece? We'll figure that out. We're going to put it on top. We're going to multiply. We're going to write it out, subtract, and we're going to do everything that we did right here. It's just going to look different, okay? We're going to do 3 examples, and then I'll give you guys time to do some homework. So here's example number 1. You guys only have, I think, 6 problems to do. So I'm only going to do 1 that's the same. The rest are going to be different. Okay, so this is going to be a different problem, not from your homework. Okay, so I'm going to put divide, and here's the problem. X squared plus 3x minus 4 divided by x minus 1. We're doing long division. Now, they're both called long division. The thing I just showed you and this right here, this is called long division. Okay? So I'm going to set it up. X squared plus 3x minus 4, and outside x minus 1. Now, there's a little saying I always say with this, and hopefully it sticks with you. When you're going to do long division, you focus on the firsts. Focus on the firsts. In other words, look at the first term of the x minus 1. Look at the first term of the x squared plus 3x minus 4. In other words, you're paying attention to this and this only. Okay? Just those 2. How many times does x go into x squared? So what do I multiply x by to make it an x squared? Not by 2. I want x to become x squared. So x times what is x squared. That'd be an x, right? X times x is x squared. Okay, so I'm going to put the x up here. Okay, and then remember, well, actually, I'll leave this right here. X times something is x squared. So that something would be an x, right? So I asked myself, x times what is x squared? Well, x times x is x squared. Now, what did I do before when I put a number up on top? What did I do with it? Let's go back to look. Didn't I multiply times whatever was in the front? So I'm going to multiply x times these two things. Okay? So x times x, that's x squared. Okay? X times negative 1, that's negative x. And then I'm going to subtract. Okay? So notice I'm doing the same exact steps. I'm doing the same steps. It just looks different. I asked myself, how many times does it fit in? X times. Let's get x. Let's multiply it times the thing in the front. I did that. I write it down on the bottom. Now I subtract. That's what I've done before. X squared minus x squared, that cancels. Okay? But what about 3x minus negative x? That's kind of tricky. Minus a negative means plus, right? Minus a negative means plus. So 3x minus a negative x. 3x plus x. That's 4x. So I'm going to put 4x right here. And then what was I supposed to do in the last problem when I had like a little space? I was supposed to drop something down, right? So I'm dropping this minus 4. Now, again, I'm going to focus on the firsts. Let me erase this one. The first term here with the original first term up there, the x. X times what is 4x? Times 4, yeah. So let me write this down. X times something is 4x. So you said 4. So that means I'm going to put a positive, right? A positive 4, not a negative 4. I'm going to put a positive 4 up there. Now I'm going to get this positive 4 and multiply it times the two numbers in the front. But notice, I'm not multiplying by x plus 4. No, just 4. Just the 4. Okay? So 4 times x, that's going to be 4x. And what's 4 times negative 1? Well, negative 4. Let me subtract. Whatever I get at this point is going to be my remainder because I've run out of numbers to put in. Okay? So 4x minus 4x is 0. What's negative 4 minus a negative 4? What is that? That's also 0, right? They cancel out. So I'm done. What's my solution? My solution is up here. This is what we call our quotient. That's my result. So here's my answer. X plus 4. Is there a remainder? No, right? 0. So here's my solution. X plus 4. Okay? So I took x squared plus 3x minus 4. I divided it by x minus 1. Okay? I did the processes that we mentioned before, right? You're just going to ask yourself, how many times do I multiply this to equal that? So I said, what is x? X times what is x squared? We said, well, x times x is x squared. So I'm going to put the x up on top. And then I multiplied x times x times negative 1. That's how I got x squared minus x. Okay, then I subtracted. So when I subtracted, x squareds canceled out. 3x minus a negative x becomes a 4x because they add two negatives, right? And then I dropped the minus 4. And now I focus on my firsts again. So x and 4x. So I said x times what is 4x? Well, x times 4. So I get that 4. I put it up on top. The 4 multiplies the terms in the front. I get 4x minus 4. I subtract. I get no remainder. Sometimes you get a remainder, and that's okay. In this case, we got no remainder. I think the next example, we also won't get a remainder. But that's how we're going to get our answer. This is called our quotient. This is called our remainder. Okay, the quotient means the answer. Okay? Are we okay with this first one? Because we're going to do 2 more, okay? Just to kind of get practice on it. So here we go. Example 2. Again, we're just doing the same process that we did in 3rd or 4th grade. It just does not look as easy, okay? But it's the same steps. So we're going to divide. And let's do c squared plus 2c minus 35. And we're dividing by c minus 5. So it doesn't matter if it's an x or a y or a z, whatever. Now again, we're going to set this up. Make a pass. We're going to set this up. So let's write it out. C squared plus 2c minus 35. And here, c minus 5. Just leave it right there. All right. So remember what I told you? Focus on the firsts, meaning the first terms, okay? I need c times something to equal to c squared. C times what equals c squared? A c, right? So I'm going to put a c up here. Okay? Then I'm going to multiply by that. So c times that, c times that. So c times c, c squared. C times negative 5 is negative 5c. And I'm going to subtract. Again, that's what we normally would do. Subtract whatever our result is. C squared minus c squared is 0. 2c minus negative 5c is what? Say again? What's 2c minus? So I'm doing a 2c minus negative 5c. Minus a negative. That means plus. So in other words, 2 plus 5. Right? That's 7. And then I drop the negative 35. And now I'm going to focus on the first again. I'm going to get rid of the one from up there. C times what gives me 7c? C times what is 7c? Just 7. So I'm going to put a 7, a positive 7, up there. Now I'm going to multiply by that positive 7, but only by the positive 7, not by c plus 7, okay? Not by the whole thing, because then that's just going to be a huge mess. Just by the 7, okay? So 7 times c, that's 7c. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. Let me subtract. 7c minus 7c, 0. Negative 35 minus a negative 35. So in other words, negative 35 plus 35 is 0. So my answer is what's on my quotient, c plus 7. So let me write that down. C plus 7. That's my solution. Once you get used to these, they're not terribly difficult. They're always going to be annoying. I can promise you that. I don't like doing long division. Synthetic division is way better, and we're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, it's like a shortcut. Okay, but sometimes you can't do synthetic division. You have to do long division because it doesn't work synthetically. So you do have to know this process because sometimes it's useful. Other times it's not. So we're going to do one more, and the only reason why we're doing the one more is because it looks different, and like I did yesterday, I showed you 3 examples, and each one was a little different in the way it looked. So this one looks a little different, so that's why we're going to do 3 of them. So here we go. This is example number 3, but I think it's actually number 8 on your homework. So let me actually put number 8. This is number 8 on your homework. I kind of tweaked the way it looked, but it's the same problem, okay? So you're going to say divide, and it's 2y squared minus 2y minus 12 times 2y minus 6 to the negative 1. So I'm changing number 8 just the way it looks when to start, but the answer and everything we do is going to be identical, okay? So don't worry. It's not like, oh, he changed it. It's not the same. It's going to be identical. We're going to rewrite it right now. What does it mean when they give me a negative power? Where does it belong? In the denominator. So that means I'm dividing by it, right? I'm dividing by it. So another way that I can write this is like this. Divided by 2y minus 6. I can also write it like that because I know the negative 1 throws in the denominator, which means it's dividing by it. Now I can write my problem out. 2y squared minus 2y minus 12. And out here, 2y minus 6. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play the same game, okay? I'm going to focus on the firsts. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You always do the same thing, okay? Highlight the first terms and ask yourself the question, 2y times what is 2y squared? So what do I multiply 2y by in order to get 2y squared? What do you think? Anybody? You can use your fingers. By y, right? So 2y times y is 2y squared. So I'm going to multiply by y. I'm going to put a y up there, and then I multiply the y times both of these things, okay? So 2y times y is 2y squared, and then y times negative 6 is negative 6y, and I'm going to subtract. So 2y squared minus 2y squared is 0. Negative 2y minus a negative 6y, that means plus 6y. That's 4y, and then drop the negative 12. Okay? Now, let me highlight the next first term, which happens to be a 4y. So, 2y times what is 4y? By 2. Thank you. So, by 2. So, 2y times 2 is 4y. So, I'm going to get that 2. I'm going to put it up here. It's a positive 2. By the way, if you're wondering, well, what if it was a negative 2? Then just put y minus 2. Okay? So, I'm going to get this 2, and I'm going to multiply it times these two terms. Just the 2, not the y plus 2, just the 2. 2 times 2y, that's 4y. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. And we're going to subtract. 4y minus 4y is 0. Negative 12 minus negative 12, that's also 0. So what's my answer? The y plus 2, right? The number on top. The quotient. So y plus 2 is my solution. So this part right here. This is my quotient. That's my answer. Okay, so this is what you guys are doing for homework today.